Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Just a quick update on the rear wheel drive Scirocco. The driver's side seat rails are now in, fully welded in. Absolute nightmare to do. It's because the access is so tight to the tunnel and the cage here. You might notice that the gearbox is actually strapped up just now. That's because I had to get rid of these raised mounts that I'd built before just because I couldn't get a seat in. So yeah, I've just welded in these kind of flat patches to complete the tunnel, and yeah, the seat now fits in, so that's good. So here's the driver's seat bolted in. It's nice and far back. In a pretty good position for the shifter. The steering wheel is probably going to come out a little bit more. I need to do some work on the steering column and how it's mounted up, but it's a kind of rough idea anyway. Yeah, it's pretty tight to the cage and also to the tunnel, but everything clears and I'm pretty happy with how it's sitting. The seats I've went for these Sparco Rev QTR seats, nice and light, fit someone of my height and build pretty well, but they're quite a narrow seat as well, so I can fit them in what little space I had in the car. Engine wise, I've been gathering some parts in prep for the first startup. I've got everything I need now for the turbos, oil and water lines. This is the oil feed from a longitudinal 180T engine. Oil return to the sump is going to be a mixture of these. TFSI on the turbo end, and then it'll be KO3 on the sump end. This is the old Agu Fuel Rail. It's only got 3-bar regulator, and I think the injectors are only 249cc or something like that. So what I've done is stuck on the fuel rail that I had on when this car was running front wheel drive. So there's some adapters there to use Bosch 550cc injectors. It's got a 4-bar fuel pressure regulator, and it's got TIG welded ends, so I can run AN fittings for the fuel lines. I've picked up these 4-pin Hitachi coil packs as well. You can find these on certain 180Ts. I think you get them on C5 RS6s as well. From what I've read, they're pretty bulletproof, and what I like about them is they bolt down just the same as a AGU coil pack. But obviously they're 4-pin, so when I'm making up the loom, I'll be able to delete the ignition amplifier, which is usually the weak point of the AGU ignition system. But yeah, I'll definitely go into a bit more detail on that when I come around to doing the loom side of things. Now the next issue to overcome is the sump. You can see it's got this, it's like a 20-degree slant in it. Because longitudinal 180Ts, the way they sit is they slant this way, maybe 15 or 20 degrees. So obviously when that sump gets bolted up, it actually sits pretty straight like that. Now my engine sits vertically, it's just the way it's mated up to the RX-8 box. It sits this way, which is completely fine. There's no issue at all running it vertically, just as long as the oil pickup is fully submerged in oil and it doesn't starve of oil, then there should be no issues at all. So yeah, this sump needs a little bit of modification. What I'm thinking of doing is just cutting out this portion and having it sort of like a V shape going down. That'll also get rid of this oil sensor hole, which I don't care about. So I guess it'd be this kind of thing. Basically cut this section out and then made a little cardboard template and got a new oil drain drilled in there. So we're getting somewhere now. It definitely looks a lot better. And I've measured where the pickup's going to roughly sit. So the oil pickup pipe should sit roughly here. So it'll be picking up from the deepest part of the sump. And hopefully these sort of angled sections will prevent the oil sloshing about too much. So Yeah, it should work fine, I think. I'll get some 3mm alloy plate to make up this little section here. And yeah, I'll maybe look into baffling the inside as well. The oil pickup pipe is about 15 degrees off, so I think I'll just need to cut that and have it re-welded just so it sits dead straight. Got a custom prop shaft made up by BAR Prop Shafts in Wales. Really good service from them. Sent them a bunch of measurements, and then a few days later this arrived at the door. Yeah, it's basically RX8 either end, and these are they're called Spicer heavy duty universal joints. They use them in all their kind of rally car prop shafts and stuff. It's 2.5-inch tubing, and it's obviously all balanced and good to go. So yeah, I'll get it bolted up and then we'll take a look at the underside of the car. So the prop shaft is bolted up. A little bit of free play there for any gearbox movement. You need to get the right bolts for it, but these are holding it in just now. Yeah, it's pretty cool just to see the whole drivetrain doing its thing. I guess I can officially say the car is rear wheel drive now. I spent a bit of time getting the prop shaft sitting in its optimum position, where it's sitting nice and level. That's why the gearbox mount is off just now and the box is strapped up, because obviously the box needed a bit of up and down movement just to set that perfectly. So the other thing I've had to consider with the prop shaft is the Diff pinion angle and the gearbox tail shaft angle. So basically how I've set it up is the pinion on the Diff here points maybe 1 or 2 degrees up the way. So the tail shaft housing on the gearbox points the same amount of degrees, but it points down the way, so the two angles cancel each other out, and yeah, that should give this prop shaft a pretty easy life and prevent any vibrations and things like that. So I'm basically going to make another gearbox mount for 2 reasons. The first one is so that the gearbox is obviously sitting in the right position, and the second one is so that I can hopefully fit a 3-inch exhaust down under, and then that'll run right under the prop shaft, under the diff, and then out the back. I've ordered some BMW E36 gearbox mounts, just to add another model to the list of parts that make up this car. So yeah, hopefully in the next video I'll have that mount finished, and I'll hopefully have the sump finished as well. And yeah, I'm definitely going to make a video just going into a lot more detail of the underneath of the car as well. I'll also be putting out some more content on this car, which is my daily driver, as well as some other little projects I've got going on. So yeah, if you're into that sort of stuff, old Golfs and Sciroccos, make sure and hit subscribe, keep up to date with all my feature uploads. But until next time guys, thanks for watching.